Welcome to Weapons of Mass Destruction Podcast, episode 236, which can be found at wmdpodcast.com/236. David,
Sir.
I came to a realization recently that Democrats don't even like themselves. Well, I wouldn't say that I came to that realization recently, but the depths to which they don't like themselves, I guess, is what I came to recently.
Dang.
Yes.
They don't realize that either.
Oh, how much they don't like themselves?
Yeah, that's why they're so caught up in when you don't like yourself, you tend to face outwards. And that's when you kind of start seeing like everything that's wrong and complaining about everything and saying everything needs to change. Not me. It's everything else that's wrong. It's definitely
everybody else.
Oh my God. Yeah. So that's why you had the last 4 years of like up is down, down is up. Anyway. So yeah, of course. And like you said, and like we said during those dark days, the funny thing about the left is they have a really good track record of holding everyone to their same standards, but only their side ever gets whacked.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're fundamentally, and, you know, we went into the deep political theory and philosophy of this whole thing, you know, about where the whole concept of left and right comes from, and why the more left type bent, right? So communism is inherently a leftist ideology, as is fascism, or national socialism, as it would be. These are inherently leftist ideologies because underlying all of their superficial policies and ideologies and stuff like that is this belief that a single nail sticking up cannot be tolerated. Right? A single nail sticking up that has even the chance, let alone whether it does, has the chance of refuting whatever it is that their regime says, my way is the way to go to get to utopia. They need to hammer that nail down. You know, we pounded, no pun intended, we pounded that point home during COVID about, you know, if a small fraction of the population wasn't wearing a mask or wasn't getting vaccinated or whatever, they went full-blown 1984 on them, you know, because they could not abide a test case where the rest of the blind followers were like, well, that guy's not vaccinated, or that guy's not wearing a mask, or that state happens to be open and not, you know, locking everybody in their rooms like they're 5 years old. Why do they get to live free and still be happy and healthy? You know, that's what they can't abide. It's fundamentally a totalitarian way of viewing the world, way of viewing government. And that's why even when somebody from their own, you know, group breaks ranks, that cannot be tolerated. And we have two examples for you this week. The first video is a little bit longer than the second one. It's about 3 minutes and 45 seconds. The second one is under a minute. But we're going to play them all in their totality, you know, and then give you our comments on them. But David, before we get into the first video, any more introductory viewpoints on this?
In the land of lies, dissent will not be tolerated. That's basically what we're looking at. Like, if you know that your idea is a piece of shit, you don't want anyone in that boardroom raising a hand saying, is there a better way to do this? Maybe, possibly. Is there a better way to help these people with these mental illnesses other than giving them the chop? And I'm not talking about their foreskin.
Taking like, a couple more inches than just the foreskin.
For some of us, maybe just one more inch. But that's not important. It's, damn it, Dane. Only I could have turned that into a dick joke. But yeah, I just think that you doth protest too loudly. And we've seen it for what it was for a while, and I don't think that they do yet. And I think we've been saying for a long time that they're very good at eating their own. And didn't take long after this latest bloodbath for them to start looking at each other and saying, I think I can eat that. I think I can eat that person to make me stronger.
Yep. So the first example of eating their own this week comes in a voluntary, by the way, congressional testimony by Mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, who was answering questions from Congresswoman from his own state and actually from, you know, his own city to the extent that she's from, you know, her congressional district incorporates the Bronx, is Alexandria Ocasio Cortez. And so just kind of we're going to give you some more of the context after you sit through this 3.5 minutes, but I just want you to, for those of you maybe outside the United States who aren't aware of who these characters are. So New York City Mayor Eric Adams, Black male mayor of New York City. So he checks some of those diversity boxes, right? To the extent that the Democrats are all about what are your superficial characters and that makes you qualified, Democrats should, close ranks around him and be like, this is our guy. We love him. He can do no wrong, much like they do for the rest of their colleagues. But, that's Eric Adams. And on the other side, we have Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, right? Female, Hispanic, again, checking other boxes for her party.
Who's a bartender, so she's clearly, read into all the facets that leading a country has.
Right. So these two, again, both from the same party and, checking all the diversity boxes, they should be best of friends, right? If diversity is our strength, according to the Democrats, then these two should be showing America how to move forward by having strong leadership in the state of New York. And if I didn't mention that, both from the state of New York, I think I did. But so she is grilling him in front of some congressional testimony. And we're just going to let you parse through that before we give you the context at the end. So here she goes.
Mayor Adams, on January 31st of 2025, your attorneys met with federal prosecutors regarding the charges of bribery, campaign finance fraud, and conspiracy against you. Were you aware of this meeting prior to its occurrence?
As I stated to your colleagues, and I'm going to continue to state because we're asking the same question over and over again.
This isn't a question.
This case is in front of Judge Ho, and out of deference to
I understand, Mayor Adams.
Process, I'm going to
Mayor Adams, as your counsel, I'm sure will inform you. The only permissible way to refuse to answer a question during a congressional proceeding such as this is by pleading the Fifth Amendment. Deference to the judge is not a permissible excuse for not answering questions during a congressional hearing. Is it your intention to plead the Fifth today?
Councilwoman, you said the only way that you can't answer a question is to plead the Fifth. I am answering your question. I'm answering your question directly. That
you are not, Mayor Adams.
Okay, I believe I am.
I will ask it again. Were you aware of the meeting between your attorneys and federal prosecutors on January 31st? Answering this question is a yes or a no.
And I'm going to answer it again. Out of deference to Judge Ho with this case.
That is not an answer, Mayor Adams.
He is going to deal with the outcome of the case.
Mayor Adams, is it your intention to not comply with these questions?
As I stated, I'm answering your questions, and what you're doing, let's be clear on, you're asking me about communications between my attorney and I. And I don't think that is appropriate to be asking a question between my attorney and I, because we are in a country of law and order.
I understand.
And your
so, Mayor
Adams, communications with your attorney should be respected.
Who is your attorney?
Alex Spiro.
Alex Spiro, thank you. Now, Mayor Adams, have your attorneys ever met with city officials? That is not covered. I'm not asking about your conversations with your attorneys. Have your attorneys met with city officials, New York City officials?
Any communication or activity between my attorney?
So yes or no? Have your personal attorneys met with New York City officials?
Alex Spiro, my attorney, to deal with those communications.
Mayor Adams, in this meeting, did anyone representing you, including perhaps Mr. Spiro, agree or allude to any arrangement with the Trump administration that would involve changing city policies in exchange to reconsideration of the charges brought against you?
You say in this meeting? Can you be clear?
In the January 31st meeting.
Again, there was never any agreement, never any quid pro quo.
That's not what I'm asking.
Nothing wrong. Never any agreement.
Then why would you be asking the question?
Was there an allusion to a shift
that
in New York City policy?
And the lady's time's expired. And I just want to remind her, Mayor Adams is here voluntarily, and we appreciate that. The topic of the hearing is about our illegal alien problem and the drain on the cities and what the solution is. So, Chair, now recognize Mr. McGuire from Virginia.
So, if I may, Dane.
Yeah.
I like how that clip worked. You didn't know why she was asking him those questions at first.
Exactly.
You're like, why does it matter? What are you doing? Okay, so is he? And then all of a sudden you go, oh,
At
so
the very
this
end, yeah.
This isn't even about Mayor Adams. This is about the migrant problem, and she's trying to defame him, making him look like a piece of shit, so that he can't be trusted on this issue. Basically, oh, good God, man, you guys are fucking something else.
That's why. That's why, you know, I get it's a little bit longer clip than we usually play, but that's why the whole clip needed to be played, is because without that context at the end from Chair Comer, that we're here talking about the thing that Eric Adams has gone out on a limb to be a pariah in his own party to say, which should just be an objective reality, right? Any city, I mean, and then if you scale it up, you know, to the macro level of any country, you cannot let 8 billion people get into a small geographic area with limited resources in terms of the infrastructure that it can provide. And that includes schools, that includes hospitals, that includes sanitation, water, like you name it. Too many people in one place is going to invariably stretch the budgets and the resources of whatever the local governing authority is. And that is left or right, it doesn't matter. That is an objective reality that mayors at their own level within individual cities need to come to terms with. And so Adams, again, making himself a pariah within the Democratic Party, has not been a full-throated, you know, supporter in every way he possibly can of mass migration, flooding, you know, illegal immigrants to New York City and putting them up in 5-star hotels. He is saying, if you keep doing this, you're going to, you know, destroy New York City. And for that, he's being ridden out of the party to the point that a congresswoman from his own state, from his own city, is attacking him on personal matters when he's not even there to discuss what she was talking to him about. You know, his own political corruption charges, you know, where that ultimately goes, where the DOJ takes that or whatever, is not really germane to the point of his viewpoints on illegal immigration. But there's another little hidden thing that you're not going to get at all from that video, but that I want to clue, you know, the viewers and the listeners in on, is keep in mind what's also going on here. Why somebody like AOC is deathly afraid of an Eric Adams getting even remotely cozied up with Trump or Republicans in general. As a power broker, a high-level power broker in New York politics, not just New York City politics, Eric Adams knows where the bones are buried. He knows what Letitia James was up to in terms of working with the Biden DOJ to weaponize, you know, the New York City cases against Trump, the only one that resulted in a conviction, and ultimately, you know, I don't remember if he got, you know, suspended jail time or whatever the case may be, but the New York Attorney General working with the Biden DOJ to push that case through, Eric Adams knows where the bones are buried on that. He knows where the bones are buried in terms of how New York City handled COVID, say under Cuomo, before Kathy Hochul stepped in as governor of New York. He may even know where some bones are buried in terms of who's behind AOC and got her to this, you know, come out of nowhere, you know, shooting star to prominence that she got from being a bartender. Maybe there's some nefarious ongoings there. So in terms of New York politics in particular, and I haven't even touched on the FBI branch that sits in New York City that has been infamously within the last couple of weeks accused by new FBI Director Kash Patel and new U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi of destroying Epstein files, not complying with executive orders to turn certain things over, et cetera, et cetera. Eric Adams may also know what's going on there. Names, faces, dates, times, things, you know, documents destroyed and where they may have been hidden, all that kind of stuff.
Detailed files.
He's got a skeleton key, if you will. So she wants to try to front run that and say, well, you got some quid pro quo with the Trump administration and you're going to turn over all this dirt on us in exchange for getting your own, you know, self off the hook. But then the question could be turned right back around on her. If you have nothing to hide, then what are you concerned about? the key takeaway here is it's beautiful to see Democrat on Democrat crime. I love it. I love seeing the left eat its own, because
Wasn't this the
ultimately,
same person?
based on their ideology of one nail sticking up needs to be hammered down, eventually, over a long enough period of time, every single one of them is going to be that nail eventually. And the rest of them got to close ranks and try to hammer them down. And that's what you just saw right there in that clip.
Isn't this one of those people that wanted to make a list of all the Trump supporters when they got in office?
AOC? Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now that the shoe's on the other foot, she's trying to get out ahead of this thing. But like you said, there's nothing to hide if everything was above board. Why are you turning on him? All he's doing, and then again, just to reiterate Dane's point, all he's doing there, showing up to give his insight. Yeah, to give his insight into a topic that's important for this country and even more important for his city. Because like he said, New York City could not sustain the massive influx of migration. That's not left of the aisle. That's not right of the aisle. Those are facts. These are facts. Like, you can't refute that. So again, I wish I could have thought of another Democrat that, well, it was happening to all the doctors that were coming out. Like, they'd come out and they say, hey, during those special times, we won't mention which special times because we're on a certain platform and certain platforms don't like it when we do that. But anyway, during those special times, some of the doctors that were holding patents on certain medical procedures were deemed crazy because they said facts. Certain doctors that may or may not have been the most published in cardiac disease was coming out and saying, hey, I'm seeing this. No, quack, kook, this, that, and the other. It appears as though, Dane, that the left, and, in this case, it looks like even though the mayor used to be on the left and on the good team, it seems as though the left, by the body of AOC, is turning on him because he's saying truisms. And again, we talked about it on the last episode. In the land of lies, dissent is not tolerated. So what do we believe? If you are protesting this, just a guy coming to the house to say, hey, I can't hack this and we need to change something, then oh, well, that's interesting that you're saying that, because last week I saw you out at a club with someone that did not look like your wife, and I took a couple of pictures. So you want to start thinking about how New York can handle what are you doing? What are you doing? You're fighting for literally the thing that is wrong. You should be helping New York. Wasn't that one of their swing states too? It's one of their, and again, like you said, she's from the Bronx. She's from the district that contains the Bronx in it. Shouldn't she want New York City to succeed? And again, we go back to them sitting for the State of the Union. It just seems like at every turn, they're not interested in making this work. They're interested in everyone bending the knee and accepting what they say without retribution, even if it means going straight over the cliff.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, like I said, that is the leftist ideology in a nutshell. The reason why they advocate for ever increasing size and scope of government power is because they always anticipate that they're going to be the ones in control of it. Now, once you have the power, a fundamental reality that you can't escape is that you then have to take responsibility with what is done with that power. And so in this particular discrete context, she is part of that sort of radical progressive left wing of the Democratic Party that even centrists like Nancy Pelosi don't even really like, that advocates for open and unfettered immigration at all times, bus them into New York City, come what may or whatever. And so if she is going to take the worldview, the ideology that government needs all this power and I need to control it, and one of the policies that I want to have happen is this unfettered, illegal immigration, she can't have anybody, especially somebody in her own party, and coming face to face with the reality of what her policy is causing, calling her out and saying that, no, your policy is actually destructive. Because again, that goes against her whole ideology and worldview, which is, I'm morally justified. I'm the smartest person in the room. I know what's best.
I can't be wrong.
I'm on the path to utopia. That's why they call themselves progressives, right? Because they think that in their mind, they are always progressing towards perfection. The perfectibility of man, which is not even possible. But in their minds, it is. So when they've been told or shown that their policies are a mistake or at worst going backwards, they can't abide that. So it's not a coincidence that they treat their own the way she treated Eric Adams and the way that a lot of people in his party have been treating him since he's taken his stance against, just flooding in as many illegal immigrants to New York City as the National Party wants. So, that is what it is. And we're going to show you another clip here in a second, a little under a minute, this one, but that really kind of, peels the Band-Aid off even a little bit quicker. So,
like I said, it just seems with your comments, with my comments, it's just becoming abundantly clear that even if she truly did want it to work, she would want to get this information to adjust her strategy to make sure that her policies did work in the favor of America and in favor of New York and everybody.
Right.
But when all you do is shout down your opponent, you're not interested in making it work then. If you're just trying to force square pegs and round holes, you've got an agenda, period.
Yeah. So this next clip is, and I don't know why he's doing it, but Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, decided to go on a podcast. Listen, I should say, I don't know why he's doing it because it's going to make him look as silly as these sort of clips do. But on the other hand, I'll say, good on you for talking to the other side, because a lot of Democrats won't do that. Because again, they have this Manichaean view that everybody on the other side is evil, so why even bother talking to them? But so he went on Charlie Kirk's podcast, and they were talking about, in this particular clip, they're talking about, the purity test that exists in Democratic circles, and we're just going to let you sit through the uncomfortability of that as Newsom tries to push back on that concept. So here he goes.
Any Democrats you admire out there right now?
Democrats I respect. Bobby Kennedy I respect. Tulsi Gabbard.
Why are you laughing? Why are you smiling?
Because they're on our team now, because you guys kicked out your best people. It's like the people that were into, this is a great point though, Governor, is that Bobby Kennedy was a heterodox opinion on a thing that a lot of people were concerned about. Get him out. He's an anti-vaxxer. Yeah. Tulsi Gabbard, who is an anti-war. Get her out. She's a Russian agent. Yeah. Do you guys see how you have an unhealthy purification process where eventually you're left with just a 31% approval rating and a bunch of people that are talking to each other? And meanwhile, we're the ones that have Democrats in our cabinet winning the electoral majority vote, because there needs to be said, if Democrats are serious about being a majority party ever again, look at that ideological diversity. We have people that, they want to go to war with every country that says something bad against us. And then we have people that are far more dovish, like Rand Paul. But that is a better, more, dare I say, diverse picture. You could say diversity is our strength.
Oh, look at you.
Oh, look at you.
You know what that reminds me of?
What?
That reminds me of like when the bad guy finally gets his comeuppance at the end. He's like, and there's nothing he can do. He's like, oh, look at you. Like, you got it all figured out, don't you? Yeah, well, yeah. When you don't just shout people down when they disagree with you in the slightest. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, listen, don't be fooled. I mean, you could probably sit through that entire episode and come away, if you're not aware of anything, just really liking Gavin Newsom, because he is a slick, smooth operator in terms
that's how he works.
That's how
he is a politician through and through.
Yeah, but fundamentally, he is a Machiavellian power broker. He has no real ideology or beliefs one way or another. It's simply, what can I do to aggrandize myself and maximize my personal power? Which is a whole different type of, I hate to, go overboard and use the term evil for that. But, when you have no star guiding you except for how to acquire more and more power, that's a unique brand of, again, don't want to say evil, but just like, it's just not good. I'll say that for lack of I can't come up with the term I'm not wordsmithing very well right now.
It better.
But, the end of that, Charlie's little, kind of quip at the end, I guess you could say diversity is our strength. That's the part that really I wanted to focus on, because that's it, right? That's the whole thing here. Every single time for the last 10 to 20-ish years that the Democrats have taken on for themselves this mantra of diversity is our strength, and they focus on all these irrelevant characteristics, from the perspective of qualifying for whatever job that they want somebody elevated to. That has always been a painfully transparent, but smokescreen for uniformity of opinion. You can look different, and we're going to pretend like difference is everything that we care about. But what we cannot abide is even the most minor difference
Actual
of opinion.
diversity.
You saw
actual diversity.
Yeah, right. The only diversity that matters.
Yeah,
right. Because again, if you listen to them, and this is the part that I actually agree with, male, female, black, white, rich, poor, all that kind of stuff doesn't matter. What really matters is, what is your worldview? What do you think about X? How do you think? Though that sort of diversity is what matters, because the marketplace of ideas is how human beings, in their imperfectible, nature, how do they arrive at truth? None of us has a monopoly on truth, so we need to battle it out in the marketplace of ideas, and they fundamentally just don't allow that. Again, to Kirk's point, look what they did to RFK. Look what they did to Tulsi.
The Democrats need to look at Deadpool too. Just like, Cable, I hope that someday you start judging people by the content of their character and not the color of their skin. When he's dying at the end.
Yeah.
Like, literally, like, you guys scream about diversity, racism, and strength and all that stuff, but all you do, and that's the hypocrisy that just makes me grind my teeth at night. Just, you think that you're diverse on surface level only. But we can see right through that, because you do not allow for one iota of, like you said, actual diversity with concepts and, individualism. You don't accept individualism. Everybody has to be singing from the same hymnal. And that's not diversity. That's like we said, it's the Democratic Party is a fucking Christmas morning with a bunch of presidents under the tree with nothing in the boxes.
Yep.
Looks great until you get below the surface.
Exactly. So, well, David, is that it? You got anything else for the people?
I mean, just be better. Just better.
All right. Well,
I don't know what the fuck else to say. It's like, you can only say it so many times in so many different ways without sounding like we're repeating ourselves over and over again. But like,
if we're repeating ourselves, it's not our fault. Okay?
Yeah, they're making us do it.
It's that these things keep perpetuating themselves, like a zombie. They just never die. And so, I guess if you shoot the zombie enough times, eventually it will. So, maybe the 47th time we say it is the time that actually gets through. So,
bad movie that keeps coming back. It's literally the Democratic Party is the Fast and Furious. Like, nobody's watching that shit anymore. Stop making them. What is this, a Ponzi scheme? What are you, laundering money through this fucking franchise?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Like, anyway, my point being, Dave.
Anyway,
I've said enough. Where can they find episode 236 of Weapons of Meme Destruction podcast?
Yeah, with that being said, they can find this episode at WMDpodcast.com/236. They can get the audio only on any podcast catcher. Just search Weapons of Meme Destruction. They can get the video on YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, and X. While you're over at the website, make sure to check out the Support Our Work tab to see all the ways you can support us financially. But there's a ton of free ways to do it while you're over there too. For one, joining the email list so you always stay in contact with the show. But also on whatever platform you find us, like, subscribe, share, comment, hit the notifications. And the lowest of all low, sane space expanding bars is just telling friends and family about us. Help make the world a marginally freer place by making it a saner place. That's what we're here to do, and we appreciate all your help helping us get there.
There you go. And until, hopefully, by the way, hopefully this new time works for everybody, because this is probably where we're going to be for the foreseeable future until we decide to change it again. Until we get bored, we want to change it up and see if you guys are paying attention.
Throw you some more curveballs.
Yeah, we're all about the balls that curve. Anyway, until next week, guys, stay safe, but more importantly, Stay free.